tonight. I can barely see the road from the heat coming on. Reach down between my legs, ease the seat back. She's running, I'm buying, right behind it, real me now. Got the feeling, powers hearing, busy robbing me, no stopping now. Panama, Panama,
Love it, mate. I tell you what, if you crank that up in the stadium, the crowd would be going ballistic, wouldn't they?
Well, I hope the Panamanians listen to it in the dressing room, mate.
I've got to tell
You
you.
got to get pumped. They're up against it.
Yeah, well, the Van Halen members walk past the front door. They're very rap, mate. We played the All Whites against. Sorry, we the All Whites played against Colombia over in France in the Confederations Cup finals, and I remember we went in at halftime 1-0 up, and ref Di Gregorio, my Italian friend from Island Bay and great family down there in the Bay. He had scored I'd say it's a miss hit, but he'd say it's the best struck shot he's ever hit in his life. And it sailed past a bewildered goalkeeper into the roof of the net.
Yeah.
This is like 5, 6, 7 minutes before half time. So we went and 1-0 up at half time, and we'd been absolutely gained in the first 45, and running after. It was men versus boys, man. It was hot and sticky, and they were quick, and we looked like we had just come out of a sauna because we were shattered. But in the second half, they got a couple of goals that may have been pulled back for high foot, or our players impeded. Chris Killen got sent off, and one of our players complained after the game. We wanted to put in a protest, and I said, to be fair, mate, if I was a referee refereeing the New Zealand All Whites against the Colombians, I'd probably want to curry favour with the Colombians a bit more than I would the New Zealanders.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to upset those Colombians, do you, mate?
No, you don't. You don't.
And but moving along, I suppose you had to be there. Mate, the World Cup, is it this weekend? It's Saturday now. No, it's Monday now, the 11th. It must be this weekend, surely.
Is it the 13th it starts?
Which is this weekend, isn't it? 6 days. That's on Sunday.
Well, no, the 13th.
No, that's tomorrow. That's Wednesday.
Isn't it Wednesday? Surely it's not. Surely
Wednesday.
it's not Wednesday. World Cup 2018.
Our day job's obviously taken a lot out of us, mate,
Oh, mate, yeah.
It's not far away then, is it?
Behind the eight ball with knowing when the actual World Cup starts. 15th, Friday the 15th.
Oh, yeah.
Well, end of the week, that's it, man. World Cup, it's on.
God, there's not going to be any sleepers there between now and the end of the World Cup for me, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, it's going to be...
You got a couple of little kids.
You're going to have to pick your games.
Yeah, yep, you're right, mate.
There's so many. That's the thing.
Group E, Brazil, Sunderland, Brazil, Switzerland, Costa Rica, and Serbia. Now, at first I wrote that down and I thought it sounded, I wrote it like it was Scotland. When's the last time Scotland won the World Cup, mate? When they in against us in 1982?
They were, and Scotland actually had a good record of making the World Cup. They made, they made a number of them, but they had a good run from about. Where did they have? They qualified for a few at the beginning. They were at the 54, the 58. Then they were at the 74. They had a bit of a break. Then they were at 74. Then they were at the 78, and at the 78 they actually had probably what a lot of people think was the best Scottish team ever, but they did bugger all.
Is that Liverpool players? Is it?
Oh, they had a lot of players, mate. They had all bases covered, and they just couldn't. Yep.
They
just they drew with Iran 1-1. They lost to Peru. That was Peru's probably last World Cup actually, and they were pretty disappointing, but a lot of people, supporters of England and Wales and Ireland and so on, had always given them a bit of grief because apparently Joe Jordan dived to get a penalty that actually qualified for
Big
them.
smoking Joe.
Actually,
did he?
There's there's an allegation that he dived to win the penalty that got them through to that World Cup.
I don't think that could have possibly happened, mate. Not Big Joe.
But then they made 82, and they had a reasonable side there. Then 86, then 1990. They missed 94, and then the last World Cup they were at was 1998.
Is that right?
Yeah. And they didn't do enough. They had, what did they do? They lost. And they lost to Morocco 3-0 in their final game, and they haven't appeared at the World Cup ever since.
Oh, yeah, because there was I think we spoke about it 2 weeks ago. We were talking about the standard of football in Scotland now, and it's really gone down, hasn't it?
Well, I think it's still. They'd still have a better league than a lot of countries around the world, but if for some reason they can't get it together at the international level, it's hard to pick why. They do have some quality players, but they certainly don't have the likes of guys like Joe Jordan and Kenny Dalglish and these these sort of guys they were class, mate.
Souness was just as tough as they come, wasn't he?
Oh, he was a quality player.
Didn't he go to Sampdoria? Did he go to Sampdoria? I think he did.
Oh, yeah, I think so. He was definitely in Italy.
And he was captain of Glasgow Rangers. He was captain of Liverpool when they were the best. That's when Grobbelaar was there. And
he managed Rangers actually for a while and did all right. Got them into Europe and so on. Yeah. No, it's amazing to see how a team can drop away like that. They're a good example of what what once was. Yeah.
It all comes down to money, doesn't it?
Well, it does, yeah. They missed out on getting into the EPL, and that's sort of been a big, negative impact on Scottish football in the end.
I think if Rangers and Scotland had both been given the tick to play in the English Premier League, I think that would have been fantastic for those two teams. And
Rangers and Celtic, and then maybe the likes of Aberdeen, and then some of the other clubs as well. Maybe they should have just somehow brought them into the football league and been maybe it's a bit more travel for some of the English teams. And the Scottish teams, of course. But why not keep that going? English football owes Scotland something, don't they?
Yeah, you would think so.
All the good memories the Scots have given the English over the years with winning the European Cups. Their managers were always there.
We've got to tread carefully now, though, mate, because people could be saying the English owe the Scots a lot in a lot of our fields.
Oh, well, they do, yeah. They owe the Scots a lot for a lot of reasons. Yeah, that's right.
And the Scots have pretty much, from as far as I see it, always borne they've been there to bear all the bruises and the
Scots invented golf. I think someone from Scotland invented the refrigerator as well.
Is that right?
How about that? Yeah.
Isn't it true that there's more golf courses in Scotland per head of people on average than any other country in the world?
I don't know that stat.
I might have just made that up, mate.
It might be true. I'd believe it.
It's a goodie. I think I'll stick with that.
That's where they started. That's where they started playing golf.
Have you seen the clip with who's the English comedian there? Who's with the hair? Oh, help me out here. Billy Connolly.
Oh, he's Scottish.
He's Scottish, and he's going on about learning to play golf and letting the ball into a hole and then doing it 18 times.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, mate, moving along. Where are we? We've got the...
I think maybe we should have
what do you reckon?
We should mention this Football Ferns debacle.
Yeah, okay. Well, you know what I said to you before we sort of got on air? I said, look, mate, I really want to focus on the World Cup coming up, and you said to me, Mike, I want to ask you about this, the Football Ferns, and I was going... After all the crap we've had with NZ football, I wanted to just focus on the football at the World Cup, and you wouldn't let me, mate. So let's get it out of the way.
We've got to talk about this.
Yeah, because I'm probably in the same boat as you, mate, and it's not a good boat to be.
Well, this guy, he's NZ football technical director.
And what's his name? Who are we talking about?
Andreas Heraf.
Okay, where's he from,
He's
mate?
Austrian.
Okay.
He was an Austrian international. He had a reasonable career. He played for some good clubs. He played for Austria Vienna, or I think they were called, Rapid Vienna, I think they were called. And
good team.
He did well professionally, but it just seems, what's a guy like this doing as the technical director for New Zealand football, and he's saying that we have no chance of competing against Japan?
Is that what he's saying?
That's what he said. He said we weren't up to the level, and and we had to try and damage limitation That was his attitude. And it's like, that's not the New Zealand attitude, though, is it?
Well, it's interesting you bring up the point that that he stated, because I thought the Kiwi women teams were doing great, mate. I thought
they have been. That's the thing.
I thought that out of all the stuff that's going on, I thought the one consistent is that you'd always be able to draw a line and say that we don't cross that with the women's team. We always how do I head above water, and they're doing well. And
they've been building for years, and they've been building good sides, and there's there are a lot of good players. Some players here from Wairarapa who are doing really well. Young women who are like really making a name for themselves and getting. I think a couple of them are in line for scholarships. And there's a young girl from Greytown. I did an article about her last year. I can't remember her name, unfortunately, but she's a very good player, and she's turning some heads about how well she plays football. And these women and girls are out there, and they deserve better than this. They deserve better than a guy who's going to go into a game and set them up to defend against Japan. It's like, you go out and have a crack. You're on your home turf. You're in front of it. The biggest crowd ever for a women's football match in Wellington the other day.
What was the crowd there, mate? Just roughly.
Oh, it was about 7,132.
That's just off the cuff. Yeah, that's good.
I think.
That's huge, mate. For a women's football game in New Zealand, that's unheard of.
Well, it's massive, and they came along to see our team have a crack at one of the best sides in the world. Japan are former World Cup winners, Women's World Cup. They're a quality side. They got players who play in professional leagues around the world. And did our fans want to see them defend our guys?
Exactly.
No, they didn't want to see. They didn't want to see our team, and we defend and we lose 3-1. And then the guy comes in the press conference afterwards and says, "Oh, we can't compete with Japan." It's like, what are you doing? You're our technical director, mate. We don't need someone like that as New Zealand football technical director, as far as I'm concerned. It's like, we want someone who's going to stand, and be like, look at the All Blacks. It's the same.
Yep.
Rugby is a different situation, but no, it's not really. We have a tiny population, and we're the best team in the world by a long shot. And it's because of the mentality, and it's because of the structures, it's because of the coaching, it's because of the love for the game. And there's a lot of love for football in New Zealand, and we don't need people coming here from abroad and telling us that we can't compete. It's a joke.
It's interesting you say that again, mate. Because now that you're in these doors each week with me, you'll see more from this side of the table. There's so much negativity that's involved in the game, and you sort of think, what is going on? We don't need it. Bring us back some professional, transparent consistency.
Well, bring us back some belief, mate. Yeah. Like, look at Leicester City. Did they think they could just had to compete? No, They didn't. They got a roll on. Ranieri believes in himself. He believed in his team, and they shocked the world, mate. And that's what any team can do. It's like, that's the beauty of football or any sport. If you can get the right mentality going in a team can do better than an individual, and that's the beauty of it.
Well, I'm glad you're saying these things, mate, because I think you're actually a bit softer than I expect you to be. Because I'm also another one that's over it. I'm over people coming to New Zealand, painting a picture that it's just okay to be okay.
Yeah.
And then once they've done their job and failed here, thinking, well, I didn't expect anything from New Zealand anyway, just a little, it's a little job for 6 months, 2 years, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Then they move on to something else, and that for me, it's like the last coach that left the All Whites, the seniors, and took away a couple of good young coaches here.
Oh, Hudson, and he took off the MLS.
Yep. And got
his payday over there.
Yeah, and for me, that was always going to. And people say, "Oh, yeah," but that was always going to be the expectation.
But why though?
Exactly.
Why is
why?
it?
It's like the rugby. The rugby guys don't. We don't expect the good rugby players to get to the top and then go overseas. We expect them to get to the top and stay here because they want to play for the All Blacks. Not.
Well, football's completely different as well, because we can use players that play abroad. That's one thing about the All Blacks, I think, is it's a good thing for them, but it's a little bit. But it's not the same situation with the professional leagues. Like in football, the professional leagues are obviously everywhere else, but we do have the strongest rugby league here, based in New Zealand, so it is better for the players to stay here.
But we also have a threat. We have a threat from our hierarchy that if you do go and play overseas, there's a chance you won't play for the All Blacks, or you won't play. So if you want to play for the top team in the world, you want to stay here, mate. And I think it's frustrating that a lot of people want to leave the country.
We need New Zealanders in these jobs, so that's the thing. We don't need foreigners coming here. And what is he? Is he better qualified than a top New Zealand player? Like, I mean, you look at couldn't Winton Rufer be NZ football technical director and do a better job? I think so.
Well, these guys that come over here, they rave about him because they've all heard of him and they think Winton Rufer's amazing, but the guys at the top of the tree here just don't want to use him. That's all. It's
wherever else, mate. Even guys.
I know.
There's plenty of guys who played National League and represented the All Whites who could do a better job and have a better mentality than this Haraf character. I mean, I just can't believe he came out after the game and said that. It's just, it's a disgrace, actually, in my opinion.
Yep.
New Zealand we've always punched above our weight in everything we've done. You look right back for hundreds of years. The Māori punched above their weight, didn't they? And then Ernest Rutherford, people like that. That you don't give up and you don't give in, and that's the New Zealand way. And,
the trait of New Zealand is always we're a little dot from the South Pacific, and we always rise above and punch above our weight.
Oh, they love us around the world, mate. Yep. They love New Zealand. You go anywhere and you say New Zealander, and they'll give you a cup of tea and a piece of cake.
Well, mate, I know you're upset about this, and it's been good to get off your chest. So I appreciate your words, and we'll obviously we'll get back into there a bit later, I'm sure. But we're going to talk World Cup football teams in a minute. But before we do that, mate, I just wanted to play one more song, and that's where are we here? I don't know, where is it? I've got a playlist here, and I can't find it, mate, but I've been listening to a lot of old school lately, mate, and, this playlist thing we've got with this Apple iTunes is just fantastic. It's got... Do you listen to Apple iTunes, or are you on Spotify or something?
Spotify, mate.
Any good?
It's good, yeah, it's good.
Okay. Well, you wanted me to play the Unknown Mortal Orchestra, so here we go.
Oh, look, yeah, it's a great tune. This is a Kiwi, formerly of the Mint Chicks. He's now based in the US, Ruben. Oh, goodness, I can't even remember his second name. He's the lead vocalist.
Cool.
From
See you in a
Auckland.
minute, guys.
Yeah.
Great sounds. Is that a Kiwi band, mate?
Well, I mean, Ruben Nielsen is the lead singer, and he was with the Mint Chicks with his brother and a couple of other cats from Auckland. And they were a big band for a while, and then he sort of took off to the States and met up with, I think they're 3 Americans. I saw them live in Melbourne a couple of, 3 years ago, and they were bloody good live, and good band. I've got a lot of. They just released a new album this year, actually. I've got a lot of time for them. Yeah, good band.
What's Fat Freddy's doing these days, mate? Have you heard from them at all? Are they overseas doing gigs or?
I think they might have released a new album earlier this year, possibly, or late last year, and they're still going along, doing what they do. I mean, they're
love Fat Freddy's. Good sounds. Rongatai boy, mate. So obviously there's a bit of a old school creeping in there.
No, I was always more of a Police Lucifer fan myself. That's Polder and Crete from Hastings Boys.
Yep.
Yeah. And Shapeshifter, of course. Polder.
Good, eh?
Yeah. He's the lead singer for them.
Very good sounds. Now moving along, mate. But we've had a chat about. We've got to ask you the question, mate. How'd your team go on the weekend? I hear you got thumped.
Yeah, we got a bit of a football lesson dished out to us by one of the strong sides around here. We've got sort of all bases covered, and we've got a couple of positions we could do with some strengthening in, and we competed at times, but they managed to roll us in the end 8-2, which is a bit of it's a good old fashioned. That's a bit of a league score, old school.
Yep,
league
is.
With the 2-point penalties and 4-point tries, but it was a good game though. I mean, we sort of. Yeah, I got really angry actually because they're a
mate.
good.
I can't believe you could get the angry man head on.
I'm angry, man. You should see me out there, mate.
Do you give it lunch?
I do. I go absolutely nuts and just start sledging hard, eh? And I was telling them they were Wairarapa United rejects and they were useless, and I mean because they're a half decent side in our league, but I mean honestly. I'd say 90% of the teams I've played for over the years would beat them 5-0. They're not, or maybe 5-1. I'll give them one goal, but they're not that good a side, and it's frustrating playing in a team and we're missing a couple of players, and that's and they exploit that and they take us to pieces, and that's how it is sometimes. You end up in a team where it's not quite as good as what you might have played, and that gets quite frustrating. But it was a good day for the club. It was the past Players' Day down at Carterton AFC, and a few people came out, some of the old guys, and
good.
There was a guy who was made a life member, Raymond Chair, I think was his name. They nicknamed Speedy, and he got his name on the wall and a nice plaque to take home, and so it was a good day.
That is fantastic.
Yeah, it was cool.
It's really important things like that for clubs, and it doesn't matter whether it's Man United or whether it's a big club like Man United, or I was going to say a small club like Manchester City. It's really important to be acknowledged as being part of a club, and people have been involved in clubs for a long, long time, and you sort of don't appreciate it till you get older, do you? But
I definitely agree. I think it's there's something special about it, and there's something special about representing a team and the bonds you form and the people you meet. Yeah,
because it's your mates you play football with in the weekend are generally the guys you hang out with all your life and go fishing with and and get on the terps with and all that, isn't it? So
yeah.
So and if you're not getting on with the lads, then you're probably going to be given the boot fairly quickly, aren't you, mate? So,
yeah, exactly.
Now, getting back to our World Cup.
Right, we're on group. What are we on?
We're
Group
just
E?
on the first E, on Group E, Brazil, Switzerland, Costa Rica and Serbia. Big teams again. There's obviously no bunnies at the World Cup.
Brazil, Serbia are the teams that you'd think would be the top of that group.
Yeah.
Serbia are quality. Brazil, though, I mean, you look at Brazil, that's a potential winner there.
Yep.
They had that 7-1 loss at the last World Cup to Germany, and I don't think they've recovered mentally. I mean, they haven't recovered from the humiliation, and they've got a point to prove, I think, at this World Cup.
Yeah, especially with it being at home.
Well, for the Brazilian fans, they'll expect nothing less than making the final. A lot of them will expect them to win it.
You've got to be... Yeah, they do. I mean, if you look at Brazil, they play punch above their weight sometimes. Although they're great, sometimes I think that just the expectancy in them by the locals back home is huge, isn't it?
It's unbelievable.
And like you've just stated, I think the expectancy is going to be huge this World Cup. The last World Cup was at home. I remember the captain had to go off, didn't he? He went off in this, the game before the Germany game, and he didn't play. And then also the Neymar was injured, wasn't he?
Neymar was injured, yeah.
So they've already taken out probably the two
But
most
they just-
influential players.
They weren't set up right at that World Cup, and a lot of the Brazilians have said that. They weren't happy with. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure wasn't it Dunga again? He was coaching them in that last World Cup. I'm pretty sure.
Was it Dunga? I thought it was the big lad who coached in the World Cup before that.
Scolari.
Yeah, Big Phil.
Nah.
No, not the
I'm
case.
pretty sure it was Dunga. Scolari was in there for a while, and then they've got Tite now, though. That's the thing.
Yeah,
that
Tite's
counts.
pretty good now. And he's been around
he's
a bit.
turned them around a lot, and he's brought in guys that should have been in there, like Paulinho, he's made a big difference, and I think they're looking good for the tournament. Coutinho, he's a class player. They got
good.
They got Silva, Thiago Silva, PSG.
Yeah, well, he's quality, is he?
Neymar's recovered from injury apparently, so he's in there, and they've lost Dani Alves though. He's injured, but
is he?
Yeah, Danilo's coming in though, and he's an able replacement.
Yeah,
Mate,
he's quality, mate.
And they've got that Alisson, the Roma goalkeeper.
Yeah, I saw that, and he's. Because we don't get to see him over here, obviously, but. Man, he's playing in front of the guys at Chelsea.
Well, he's making a
at
name.
Man City.
He's making a name for himself.
Yeah.
Alisson. He's like, they got Edison on the bench,
That's
the City
right,
keeper.
yep,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah. But that Alisson, I think Liverpool are trying to buy him, and someone else as well. But yeah, they've definitely got a good side, and it'll be interesting to see how they go in the group. And they're just they're a team that can't lose. They're one of those teams they can't lose.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're not allowed.
Yep.
Like the All Blacks, they're not allowed to lose. If they lose, they're pretty much.
It's actually probably it's more of a national disaster if they lose than when the All Blacks lose, isn't it?
It's a bit of a national disaster when the All Blacks lose, mate.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge rugby fan myself, but I remember I remember when.
No, you're right. You're actually right. Yeah.
When we lost. Remember when we lost that game to the French years ago, and I just remember the streets were dead.
Yep.
We drove through town afterwards, me and my friends, and it was funny.
Yeah.
Imagine that on the scale of Brazil with what's their population, 280 million.
Yeah. There'd be a few gunshots going off.
There'd be a few things going on, all right.
Brazil's a pretty mucked up place at the best of times, isn't it? So.
But yeah, I mean, they've got it's a tough group. I mean, Switzerland are handy enough. They've got a few good players.
Switzerland can play, mate. There's no doubt about that.
They got Lichtsteiner. He's a quality defender.
Yep.
They got who have they got in the midfield? They got Bayrami. He's not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
They've still got Fernandes. Remember Gelson Fernandes?
Yeah.
Briefly at Man City. Yeah, I didn't really. I mean,
he's about 45 now, isn't he, mate?
He would be getting up there, but I don't think he's that old. But then they've got Shaqiri. And he's quality, mate.
He was quick, wasn't he?
Oh, he's a good player. He's I think he's going back to the Premier League. A couple of clubs are interested in signing him. I think he's still with Stoke presently, but he'll get signed by someone. He's too good, mate. He's like the he's definitely a good player. And so I mean they've got players there that can hurt a team, especially on a World Cup, and then Costa Rica as well. They've got a few handy players. They've got
well, Costa Rica play that that South American flair, and then it's. If you look at the at the groups in South America and who have come out of that, and you think, well, Brazil's from there, Argentina, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Mexico. It's from their quality, aren't they? The teams that come out of there.
Yeah, no, well, it's a religion for them, eh? They love it, and and Costa Rica have got they've got, remember Brian Ruiz, who was at Fulham?
Yeah.
He's a good player.
Yep.
He's quality, eh? And then up front they've got, Joel Campbell, who was at Arsenal and just got overlooked by Wenger.
Yep.
Even after he had that amazing tournament. When was that? Brazil? He had a good tournament in Brazil, I'm pretty sure, and he scored a few goals.
It's funny because they get they get an abundance of quality coming out of there, but they just don't seem to, I don't know, play them in the right positions or nurture them or get the best out of them at times, I think. But moving along.
Serbia, that's another.
Oh, Serbia.
Are like a football, that's you got to have respect for the former Croatia and what it used to be and Yugoslavia, the former Yugoslavia and the team that they used to have. That's a team that was up there with Brazil, Germany, and whoever.
Just freaks, mate.
And then they broke it up.
Yep.
But the Serbians and the Croatians are still two teams. I mean, even you look at the other teams here, Montenegro and so on. I mean, they've still got quality, but I mean, you look at the Serbian side, and they've just got players, mate. They've got Ivanovic, he's still there.
Yeah.
But they've got Kolarov, they've got Rukovina, Tosic in the defence.
Did you say sausage?
Tosic.
Oh, okay.
In the midfield, they got Tadic, Matic.
And Matic isn't too bad, is he, mate?
They got Milovijevic. He's the guy. I think United were trying to sign him. Then they got Lalic as well. And up front, they've got quality as well. They got Mitrovic. He's a good man. He's good in the air. Have you seen him?
Yep.
Yeah. So they've got a good side. And again, it's not an easy group. I mean, it's like a lot of the groups at the World Cup. I mean, I don't know if you'd say anyone's got an easy group. Maybe.
No, nothing at all.
Maybe you'd say for Germany, the next group, Group F, Germany, they got Mexico, Sweden, South Korea. I mean, is that Germany you'd expect to beat those sides? But then again, Germany have just been not that convincing recently.
Yeah, but I mean, I think if you look at the Germans, they are consistent. I mean, they don't always win all the games going up to the World Cup, but they've got the same coaching structure there as what they had the last World Cup. He's kept a lot of the tried and tested players that have done well for him.
And the thing is, they've had continuity with the coach as well, haven't they? And that's a huge thing.
It's like a German motor vehicle, mate. They're pretty reliable, aren't they? And that's what they are in their football. They don't play the flashiest type of football, but they get results. And,
I think there's something to be said for German football. I think sometimes it's unfairly labelled as efficient and functional by people, but they've got flair players. They've got you look at across their side, they've got players who are capable of. But yeah, as you say, I mean it is that sort of cliche with the Germans that they're sort of efficient and all that sort of carry on, but yeah, they've got like Kimmich, the young guys at Munich.
Yep,
he's quality. He's a defender. He scores goals, and they've always had that. They've always had defenders that score goals, and that's like you need that in a team, eh? And then you got the midfield. You got Royce, Özil, Khedira, Draxler, Kroos, Gundogan, and then up front you've got Muller and Gomez, and then yeah, no, they've got an excellent team again. But the big thing with Germany is they left out Mane.
Yeah, what's this guy? I thought he was quality, that guy, mate.
He is quality. It's mad. He was probably, for me, the best player in the Premier League for a lot of the season anyway. It's unbelievable that he's been left out. I mean, he was just capable. He'd get the ball and he'd run across half the field and he'd create something. Like, he's a guy, and you need guys who'll take on a defender, and when they can beat that defender and they can beat one more, the game opens right up. Everyone's and that creates chances. And yeah, I mean, if Germany look back on the tournament and they haven't won it, they might have to say, "Hey, man, maybe we made a mistake not taking Mane."
Yep. And moving along to Sweden. What do you think there? It's not a bit of a Sweden. They've never really. Back in the 50s and that they were pretty strong, but.
Well, they had that. I mean, they had that good tournament in '94 in the US, and they.
Yep.
I think they made the semi-final, but they lost to Brazil. I think was it Brazil they lost to?
Was it Brazil or Italy? Anyway, moving on.
No, they had a good side then, but yeah, no, I mean they're one of those teams that you sort of, they're half decent and they could give someone a scare, but yeah, they're not going to go all the way, are they?
No.
It's
like Iceland. Iceland's another team. They'll knock out some of the big guns, but they're not going to win the whole thing, are they?
No, well then another team in that group is Mexico, and they've got a few good players. They've Chicharito, obviously, he's he'd probably be their most famous player, wouldn't he? Javier Hernandez, and then but Mexico's another one of those countries that it's like a religion there. They've got a massive population. Their domestic leagues really competitive. It's a place that players from around the world go and play. And
well, I was over there, mate. When we went in '89, and honestly, just the feel for the game there. And the Confederations Cup would be held there, so it was huge. But we just came there when we were just swept up in the passion that they have for the game and getting back to the love of it. It's just second to nothing, mate. It's everywhere, and. I would have loved to have gone and played football there, to be fair, mate. I think it would be a great life. But unfortunately, I couldn't speak Spanish and wasn't good enough.
They might have helped you out, mate.
Yeah.
They would have given you a translator.
Yeah.
And what about and then the other team in that group, South Korea? Yeah, they're another team that
technically very good.
Yeah, quality players. Are they going to trouble a team like Germany? Ooh, you doubt it. But I mean, that's the beauty of the World Cup. You get these crazy results, and hopefully, I mean, wouldn't that be something if Korea got a result against Germany? Yeah.
Well, you sort of think it's Germany. I don't think so. It's not going to happen against them. But it's like the English. The English I could see Tunisia beating England.
That's the next group, isn't it? Group G: Belgium, Panama, Tunisia, or England. And that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing with the likes. Or even Belgium, though. I mean, England and Belgium are two teams that punch beneath their weight when they arrive on the international scene, and they always have these players, and everyone talks them up, and then but what have either of those teams ever done?
Yeah, look at the Belgium, and look at the Belgium national team, and
the Belgians are being talked up again. They're getting talked up again as like a potential winner, and until you see a few group games and see how they go. Martinez is he's an attacking possession based philosophy, and maybe that's going to help them, but he's never been famed for his ability to set up a team defensively, and that could and in a World Cup, a lot of the time it does depend on how well you defend and not how many goals you score. Unfortunately, that's the way the game's gone.
Yep.
And you have to wonder about Belgium. Yep. They do have the players, but are they going to be set up right? And is Martinez the coach that can lead that team to the World Cup? And well, hopefully he does. I'd love to see a new team win the World Cup.
Hold that thought, mate. We're going to listen to a song, and then I'm going to come back. I've just got to go to the bathroom, so I thought we'll listen to a bit of Lowrider by War. Well, good sounds, mate. Nice funky tunes. Hey, getting back into the World Cup scene, mate, but we spoke... I remember now. We spoke about a striker from, was it Peru last week?
Yeah, Guerrero.
What's happened there? Have you heard anything? What's the latest?
Well, he's had his ban overturned for now. And,
No way.
He's allowed to go. He's allowed to go.
That's fantastic.
I've let him off, and it was their first World Cup since, I think, 1978 or something, or 82. And
He's going.
He's going. He'll be over the moon. He's 34 years old or something, and he's in the squad, and he's on his way to Russia. And I don't think he or many people believed he would be there because of that cocaine thing.
Yeah.
But, luckily sense has prevailed, and he's not going to miss out on the World Cup when he's been a pretty figurative figure in their qualification.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, also, I mean, we didn't know the whole ins and outs of the cocaine thing.
Oh, that's it. I mean, it's quite possible. There's so much cocaine over there in South America that it could well have been a bloody the teapot that had some residue in it. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, who cares? I want to see football, mate.
See him at the World Cup. Good on him.
Yeah, I don't want people doing that sort of stuff, but I want to see good footballers, mate. That's what it's all about.
Well, you don't want the Peru team to always be saying, well, what might have been if we'd had Guerrero. Do you know that Guerrero scored the winner in the Club World Cup final in Japan against Chelsea a few years back?
Did he?
He scored a header for Corinthians of Brazil.
Did he?
They beat Chelsea 1-0, and they were the greatest club on the planet that season.
Yep,
and Guerrero, he's got.
He's huge.
He's a huge player, mate. He got a header in that match.
Good on him.
The only goal. Greatest team on earth, or club
Good
team.
on him.
Yeah. So he's got...
so it's an absolute superstar.
He's got a bit of class. Yeah, he's got a bit of class to him, eh? Yeah.
And, I mean, I saw a photo of him the other day, and I thought, he looks a man as well, doesn't he? He's
a bit of a beast of a man. Yeah, he looks pretty tough, and he looks like he'd be good in the air, and that's where I think that's one of his things, is that he's a great hitter of the ball, and
that's fantastic.
A good leader for the team. Yeah. I think it's great for Peru, and I mean, hopefully they do well. I mean, you always want to see a team that knocks your side out do well, don't you?
Yeah, I remember we played Australia in under-23s, and they had a guy called John Markowski, who came over here later on and played for the Kings when they were called the Kings.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And from Auckland, and he was Macedonian.
Oh, okay.
And he played for Melbourne, Macedonia, and that stuff. And he played in the same team as me, under-23s, against me.
Yeah.
Then he played in games against when I went and played in Australian leagues over there. Mate, this guy's about 6'3", but he's big. But he was just the most naturally talented. He was a freak, and he could ping shots from 40 yards with either foot.
Yeah.
And he's just one of those guys that got given everything. But he didn't like passing McDonald's very well, mate. And if he could pass the ball, if he could pass McDonald's as well as he could pass the ball, mate, he would have been the best player in the world. But he just couldn't pass McDonald's very well, mate. But getting back to the picture.
Well, where are we at? We're talking Panama, right?
That's right.
They've got the Van Halen song in the changing room. Are they going to do well?
No.
Well, they're going to struggle. They've got a tough group. They've got Belgium, Tunisia, and England, all handy sides.
Yep.
But they did well. They qualified ahead of the US, which is a big thing.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Another reason the US aren't at the World Cup, which is,
and they got slated.
Maybe they could spring a surprise to the Panamanians.
Well, let's think about it. Okay, the States, if they were at the World Cup, you'd expect
they'd be getting talked up again as they always do.
But you'd expect them to give England a run, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, definitely. They beat England in 1950 World Cup.
Yeah, that's right. 1-0.
One of the most embarrassing results of all time for the English.
I mean, the English are probably the USA team's as good as the English team these days, anyway.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Oh, I don't know, mate. I reckon they're pretty good. They're pretty good.
No, not in recent showings anyway. But they should be, maybe, considering the development of football in the US over the last few years.
Yeah, I think they are.
I watched a bit of MLS the other week, actually. And I was quite impressed. But I did notice that a lot of the players are not Yanks,
all the better players in the MLS.
They're all from South America and Europe and Asia and so on. But the MLS is actually. I was quite impressed with the ball speed. I mean, that's always an indicator of a reasonable football league, is the ball speed and the movement.
Definitely. There's players getting into that league now, but the majority of them are from European and South American clubs that are coming to the end of their sort of lifespan.
Of course.
They're trying to get a last sort of
Ibrahimovic.
Yep.
Ibrahimovic just managed to get himself sent off. Did you see the other week? He slapped a guy in the ear and got a red.
Oh, no, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I love Ibrahimovic. He's
yeah,
great,
so do I. It's a personality.
That goal he got when he joined.
Yeah, the half volley.
No, I mean, that group, I suppose we've got to talk about England, don't we? And we've got to say, how good are the English? Gareth Southgate, well, so far he's managed to impress with the team, he's tightened up the defence, they've got results.
Mate, who did he play for, Gareth Southgate?
Southgate played for Middlesbrough.
And Crystal Palace.
Who else? But he was in England a regular. He's always...
He played for Crystal Palace and
Middlesbrough. Yeah, and he was always regarded
Who did he play for?
Borough.
Did I say more? Exactly.
No, but they were a good side when he played.
Oh, mate, please,
they
mate.
were.
They didn't play for United, did he?
No, but they had bloody the Italian up front, Ravanelli. They had an excellent side that season. The
greying pasta maker.
The grey fox or whatever.
Yeah, that's the one. Yep.
No,
he was class.
Southgate. He was a quality defender, mate. He was. You can't knock him. Middlesbrough. They're not as good as they once were, but I think there's 5,000 registered football clubs in the UK, and Middlesbrough have probably not dropped out of the top 50 for 100 years, so they're a pretty big club, really.
Yeah.
If you got to look at it in perspective,
No, granted, I'm not going to say any more negativity about them because there'll be some Middlesbrough supporter whining himself up at the moment.
I got a good mate who's a Borough supporter, from Hastings, Ian. Yeah.
I didn't know that they were supported, mate. I didn't realise anyone supported.
You're being a bit harsh, mate.
No, I am sorry. I take that back.
No, look at their side now. So they got Pickford, number one. What do you think of Pickford?
Yeah, not bad, eh? Not bad. He's been around for a while, though.
He's done all right.
Yep.
Oh, he's only, he's not that old. How old is he? He's only bloody 24 years old.
Is he only 24?
He's Everton keeper, and he was at Sunderland when they were struggling like hell to stay in the league, they're, they've got players, haven't they? Who have they got? They've got, I don't know. What players have they got over there? Dele Alli, Harry Kane, England's one of those teams that I think a lot of New Zealanders tend to sometimes support by default because, it's that thing with...
it's the old English heritage that we sort of branch out to, and really, it's a shame because... Sorry, I've got to tell you this, mate. I get frustrated that we follow the English game, that we watch the English game, that we do everything like the English do because... Mate, when's the last time they won the World Cup? 1966.
Oh, I totally agree, man. I think it's something that maybe has held New Zealand football back a bit, is that reliance on sort of that English thing and English coaching and
been there,
and
done
things
it.
like that. Yeah, because they haven't, they had that win in '66, and then they haven't really done much since, have they? And and they've got players again this time.
Yep.
Their press isn't making the mistake of talking them up because they've made that mistake too many times.
Yep.
But they've probably got one of the better sides they've had in a long time that actually plays as a team more than maybe some of their sides have over the last 20 years. But since 96 when they had a decent side in 96 and they almost won that Euro in England and they had a good side then.
Mate, but once again, getting back to they don't seem to have it sorted out, because was it the last European Cup they were in where Harry Kane was taking all his free kicks and
in the Euro and taking the corners, and
he was knocking them all out for goal kicks, mate. I'm thinking, surely is this the guy that's taking all your free kicks? No way, Yeah,
well, why would you have one of your best headers of the ball taking your corners? But also, the thing is with them is that there's a lot of criticism in the UK or in England about just the whole setup, the FA, the coaching, all that sort of stuff. You see articles about it all the time, and they're not happy.
No.
Like the grassroots games are suffering over there, and that's that's always been one of the things.
It's like it's
anywhere
doing here,
in the
mate.
world,
It's pretty much like here, mate. You've got the old school keeping their fingers in the pie and looking after them, not what's best for the game as a whole, mate. And
well, that's enough.
Mate,
that's enough about England. What about Tunisia?
They're my picks to win it. No, Tunisia, lovely place. They can party, mate. They can duel, as they used to say in South Africa. They can play. They've got some skillful players. They like the heat. the Northern Africans, they'll be a decent team, mate. Mark
Yeah,
my
no,
words.
they'll be all right. They've got a few good players who play sort of internationally, and they did. They won the qualifying group in Africa. They above Congo, Libya, and Guinea, and it's their 5th World Cup.
Yeah.
Isn't that impressive?
Huge.
I mean, that's impressive, really. I mean, you don't think of Tunisia being at their 5th World Cup.
Well,
And
they're
apparently
like
over the years they've actually caused some pretty shock results over the years.
Yep.
I was reading the other day. I can't remember offhand who they did beat, but I'm pretty sure they might have even beaten one of the big European sides in the 80s, I think it was.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Well, they spring a team every now and again that really has a good run. That really gets on, plays well, plays good football, and they spring some really shocking, positive results. And hopefully they can do that in this World Cup because they've got huge ability there. They love the game as everyone over in that part of the world does.
this is the same thing's happened again. We're running out of time, mate, and we've still got one group to go.
Okay, let's do a quick one. Poland, what do you do?
Group H.
3 minutes.
Poland, Lewandowski,
Yep.
best striker in the world, or one of them.
Yep.
They've got Szczesny in goal, good keeper.
Yep.
Capable of some quality moments. Who else have they got? They got what midfielders? I'd have to be. I mean, there's what's his name? How do you say it? Creature Weir.
Creature aware. Okay, be
Creature
aware.
Weir. He's good. And
Senegal.
and Lewandowski. Senegal.
Like Tunisia, I think. It's
Well,
a bit of a dark
Senegal
sheet.
had that World Cup. When was it? When they did really well? Was it 2002? Was it 2002? And El Hadj Diouf and all that.
Oh yeah, yep.
Was that Senegal? Yeah, was it?
I don't think it was, but wait, anyway, it could be. Maybe.
No, they've got a few handy players who play in Europe. Quite a few. They got Kyoto.
Yep.
He's a quality. They got Nadai up front. They got Mane.
Yep.
You can't go past Mane. I mean, that's a team. You got to look at them, and they got several other players as well that are very capable. So they're a team that could spring a bit of. I mean, there's Colombia in that group though.
Yeah, Colombia's next. What do you think about them, mate? They are quality.
Well, they're another team who could go on a good run in the World Cup and maybe make the quarters or even the semis. They've got the players, and they've got the star players as well. They've got Rodriguez and they got Falcao. And you can't go past those two guys, can you? And their defence is pretty handy too. And they've got Ospina in goal, who's a good keeper. He doesn't get enough game time at Arsenal. Maybe he will with Emery coming on board as a coach.
Yeah.
But and then Japan. I mean, and the Japanese are always dangerous. They've got a reasonable side again. Maybe their qualifying didn't finish well. They lost 1-0 in their last game of qualifying to Saudi Arabia, but they'd already gone through. So, I mean, maybe they were taking it easy. But they've got Kagawa still, and they've got
that'd be interesting.
Okazaki.
Yeah.
They've got a quality side again. So that's another tough one to call. I mean, who are you going to call to win that group? Poland, Senegal, Colombia, Japan. You'd have to say Colombia, right?
Yeah,
Surely.
and I'd actually put Japan with them, mate. To be fair, because
But
I think
Poland are a good side.
Yeah,
I think
no,
a lot of their
granted.
players play in those central sort of European leagues, and you don't hear of them.
But I think also they were coming into the summer now, and it's going to be a bit hotter now. The Senegalese, the Colombians, and those they'll enjoy the heat.
They'll probably be at home. Yeah.
Poland,
So-
it doesn't stop raining over there, is it? Is it the sun ever shine in Poland?
Oh, it definitely does, mate.
I've
It's a
never
beautiful
seen anything
country.
I've never seen anything but a black and white photo out of Poland, mate.
Oh, you
I might
got to
be
have a
lying.
look at some more photos.
Yeah, I know. Nah, mate, that's all good. Look,
Well, it's all on this Friday,
It's
man.
all on.
World Cup. Wow, can you believe it?
so first week, people are going to be listening.
Who's going to win, man? Who do you think?
Who's the opening game? Russia against... Who have they playing first up?
I don't even remember who's in the Russian group. They've got a hard group.
Yeah.
What they got? Oh, no, they haven't actually. They've got Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Uruguay, which is a tough group.
Yeah.
The Russians aren't that convincing.
I'm just going to be looking for good football, mate, and after the first couple of weeks, that's when I think that the Muppets get sort of tossed by the wayside, and then we see the business end of it.
Yeah, exactly.
But, mate, thanks for coming in tonight. I'll see you again next Monday
I'm
at
calling
7.
France for the World Cup.
Are you calling France?
Yeah, that's my call, France.
Okay, so I'll give you a call now then. I've
Yeah,
got to
okay,
put it out
go.
there.
$5 bet.
$5 bet, mate. I'm going for... I've got to go Brazil.
I'm going France. Oh, Brazil, you reckon? All right.
Got to go Brazil. Good on you, mate.
All right.
See you later, guys.
Good on
We'll
you.
see you next week.